Welcome to another Charge Attack podcast. I'm here with Luke.
Hi guys.
And I'm Ben. We've got a load to go through today. Hopefully we won't bore you too much with some of the lesser details. But
Not at all.
But we've got a few fun facts. We've been playing some Days Gone, and we've got a little bit of feedback on that. But we've first of all got some more news on PlayStation 5. It's not too big of news, and it's not something that's going to be too surprising, really, is that it's been said that it won't be coming out until at least, and I mean at least, April 2020, which is fair enough. I mean, I didn't see it coming out this year.
No,
it seems like the right amount of time. It's a few years after the PlayStation Pro and whatnot, which is obviously doing this. The PlayStation 4 is still doing really well. So the PlayStation 5, and obviously with like the tech setup and how it's going to be so much more powerful, like they want to make sure that the PlayStation 4 runs its course before they start upgrading.
they need to definitely work this out, any kinks and things.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously Xbox and Switch are the main competitors, or mainly Xbox, I would say. How do you think this is going to affect them, or what do you think Xbox are going to do in response?
I think Xbox is definitely going to give it some time and wait to see how the PS5 sort of lands with the players.
Yeah.
See sort of what price range they go for and get the final detail of the specs, and then they might try and then work on that.
That's like, it's like a bit of a struggle though, because obviously if they leave it too long, too many people are going to be invested in.
Exactly. Yeah, they need to get on it pretty quick. But to be honest, the Xbox One X hasn't been out that long in terms of consoles. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a year behind PlayStation, but a year does make all the difference. Sort of, and it is, like they keep saying, it is the most powerful console at the moment. But the moment that PlayStation, they even announce their next console, it's going to totally blow Xbox a little bit. All of their like campaigns and all of their promotions is just sort of like, oh, we've got the most powerful console. Well, not for a couple more months.
Yeah, they have to change their slogans or their advertisement, aren't they?
Yeah.
But hopefully it will encourage them to crack on and push something new out. But hopefully they don't rush it and like fall flat on their faces.
Yeah, I mean, if it is going to be coming out around about April, I mean, I personally think that's a better time than late in the year, because obviously the PlayStation 4 came out in November, which is right before Christmas, and the problem that seemed to cause for a lot of people is that everyone was wanting to buy them for Christmas, and people wanted to buy it as a brand new console. So you had the hardcore gamers wanting to get it instantly, and then you had the people wanting to buy it for Christmas, and then there was this massive, like, overwhelming amount of people that wanted to get them all at once. Which is a bit of a pain, but obviously if they bring it out earlier in the year, and it also does depend on what they bring out with it. If they bring out a couple of like really, really good exclusives or the backwards compatibility, it could just sell constantly from April up to December until after Christmas. Like, it will just be selling constantly, and they'll have more time to play with. Which is great. The only other threat I think that's realistically on PlayStation's mind with this is obviously the Switch. If they bring out, say for example, one of their new lines of console, or they announce one of their next big Epic games, because that might just take people away from getting a PlayStation 5.
Be a bit of distraction, and especially if the PlayStation 5 is going to come with quite a high price tag, people may put it on the back burner for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So they need to have a fair pricing on it, and they need to have backwards compatibility from day one to make it worth people going out and getting it.
Yeah, but at least like, well, we always knew that it wasn't going to be this year. Well, most of us all thought that it was.
I didn't expect it this year. No way.
It seemed a little bit way too far. I reckon if it is coming out in April, then that means, I would say, probably September time this year, we'll probably get a proper announcement and be shown the specs, show what it looks like. That's a major point, and then see what's going to be capable of.
Oh yeah, as soon as they've got stuff to push out, they'll get it out to us.
Yeah, but we seem to be getting more and more details, especially in like the recent couple of months. There seems to be way more coming our way, but I'm not sure what to expect. There is so much availability, and there is so much that they can do with it. Like PlayStation already controlling this console war. and they've got so much that they need to improve on. I do like PlayStation, but there are like lots of things that they definitely need to adjust and make a lot better and cleaner, and like backwards compatibility that Xbox offer is just so much better, so great, and yet for some reason PlayStation are winning even without it. So there's just so much room for improvement, and realistically that's...
Hope the PS5 will be a clean slate for them. They'll get in there quick and get everything done they need to.
Yeah, so it could be like, obviously with Xbox wanting to like focus on cloud gaming and everything like that, it's obviously going to have a completely different... They're going to might be even going for a completely different market, but I don't think it's looking particularly good for them at the moment.
No,
especially not with their exclusives that they've got, which are quite small at the moment. But
yeah, they're a bit old and worn out now.
Yeah,
they've done them already. There's no new ones.
Yeah, but
really,
on the exclusive front though, PlayStation did release its new exclusive last Friday. Days Gone.
Yep.
We've seen gameplay of about 5 or 6 hours of it.
Yeah, I've seen probably a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. So across the board, this game's getting around about 7s and 8s, review-wise. And what we've seen so far, or what I've seen, is not particularly positive. It's got some really strong and really interesting elements that I like to it. So obviously, like with the hordes and like the ways that you kill freakers. For this, we're just going to call them zombies anyway. We're not even going to try and like convert it every time. But like the way you can kill them and everything like that, it seems interesting and it seems fun, but it is just another zombie game.
Unfortunately, it did. I was so looking forward to it being a new type of game, doing something a bit differently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it just seems to just have fallen into that pit.
Yeah, that same category of, your weapons degrade and ammo is really scarce and there's loads of zombies and everything is exactly the same. And I mean, like, so it's like, starts off quite strong with the story and like, it's all like the elements that it's showing are really cool. And that is great. That's what I wanted. That's what I said in one of the previous podcasts as well, is that like the story focus would have been a really big interest for me if they focused a lot on the story, but it seems like they haven't done that. So what they have
in bits, isn't it, the story?
Yeah, and like when you do get to those cutscenes which progress the story just a little bit more, and you can find out some more of actually what's going on in the world and who these people are and what they're doing and how everything is being affected, it's really interesting when you get to them, but they're so far and few between because there's so many little side missions and factions and helping these people, not helping these people, and finding this out. And this is almost like the curse of open worlds, is because you can detach yourself from the storyline as much as you please, because obviously you can do everything else.
All your side missions and your free roaming, yeah.
Yeah, you end up like taking yourself away from what you could what brings you into this game potentially. So one of the things that I wanted to compare this to was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now I know you haven't played any of this, have you, Luke?
Nope.
So obviously I've played a fair amount of it, a good like 300 hours. So I'd say I know my way around the Master Sword. That was poor, wasn't it? So I know my way around that. And that game is obviously open world, like massively open world, and the story in that is very, very loose, but in depth when you need it. Now, what I find is very strange is I enjoyed the story in that, but that is also like spread out loads and you don't get it. But when you do get to those really interesting story elements, is you end up having like these pockets of story where it's just sort of like when you start, you can spend 10 hours exploring and going to all these different locations and whatnot. But then when you get to a part where you're interested in the story, is you can then be interested in the story for a good few hours. So it keeps you. And it will like section that off. So there's 4 divine beasts basically in Breath of the Wild, and when you go to each one will take you a couple of hours to do all the storylines and everything to do with it. But then you learn everything about that part of the storyline. So then obviously you've got 4 individual little storylines which help build up to this, the overall arcing storyline, which does actually make you more interested in the story because you're not being left with like a 2-minute cutscene here or a 5-minute cutscene there in between 5 or 6 hours of gameplay where they're not developing the story enough for you to get engrossed into it, which is a bit of a shame. And on that note as well, is the open world exploring in Days Gone is so samey. And
if you want a motorbike, drive here, do that. Okay, here now go do there, do that.
Yeah, we didn't like what we saw of it. There's nothing really that stands out about it. The combat's alright. It's the same as every other zombies game. It's your plank of wood that you pick up breaks after 20 hits, and then you have to pick up another one, and then you have to pick up a nail bat. So by the time you found a decent weapon, you blimmin' lose it instantly. Which is, it's just so frustrating that they've just gone down the same route as everything else, where you're just killing zombies as you go, clear out this area, clear out that area, fight these people.
Throw Molotovs as and when. Yeah, bludgeon them as they run out.
And they're not really showing too much. And again, I don't want to compare it too much to Breath of the Wild, because obviously they are 2 different types of games. But when you're playing Breath of the Wild, you're constantly making progression. You're constantly going, okay, I'm going to this. When I see this shrine, this is going to be good. When I do this, this will help improve me here. Oh, I wonder what's here. There's a sense of exploration. Whereas in this, you feel like you're just going to these places because you have to go there, not because you want to go there. And that's really counteractive to how the game should feel, which is just boring.
There was one thing I did notice that was quite interesting. But it's not game changing or anything like that. It's not going to keep you hooked. Is that when a mission was selected, it was to do it was a clear out mission, and the characters say like he basically sort of was speaking to about giving himself options. Like I could go now. Yeah. There'll maybe more zombie freakers at this time
of
but
day.
They'll be weaker, or I can go at night where there might be less.
Yeah.
But they're stronger at night. So it gives you that option to try and plan your strategy a little bit more, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I've not seen that done before.
I mean,
this isn't enough to...
Dying Light did a similar sort of thing. But I mean, they did focus mainly on just sort of every time it gets to darkness, just go to sleep and wake up and then progress during the day. But obviously there's counteracts,
pros and cons to doing either or.
Which is fairly decent, and that's probably where it's like it can claw back some points. Like this is the thing is it doesn't do, and this is probably why it's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Is it does all of its jobs well. It's a fine zombie killer. It's got a fine story. Again, it's a little bit shattered, but it does it fine. And then there's the combat sort of fine. But this is why it's only a 7 or 8. It brings on very few new elements and new impressions. And for a PlayStation exclusive, it's not.
I would define this game as perfectly adequate. It's nothing amazing. It is what it is, and it does it well.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that then doesn't do well on the gaming market these days.
Yeah. If you bought this game brand new, I wouldn't say you'd be upset with it. You wouldn't be sat there going, why have I just shelled out 50 quid for this game? But you will come out of it and just go sort of like, alright, well, it's another game to add to my bookcase of games.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there being much replayability.
Yeah, it's seeming quite weak. The only other interesting thing that I really liked, and I need to stress that not like is definitely not the right word to use here.
I just hate it slightly less than everything else.
No, is the fact that like something that I haven't seen in many other games is that like there's children that have been like sort of zombified.
Yes,
and it's like you kind of feel brutally bad for knifing a small monster, I'm going to call it in this case.
Yeah.
Knifing a small monster in the neck. But it is quite interesting, I think. It's like it's one of those sorts of things where they know they're going to upset people by showing that, so they've got to be careful about how they do it.
What do people expect? Children wouldn't just disappear in this scenario. It would happen.
Yeah. The only other game I could think of that had like zombie sort of children is Dead Space, where it had the little babies that like, and I mean proper babies that had like come out of nurseries and they just exploded. And those were, and when you're playing that game, you're like, ugh, these babies, I feel bad, but also they are trying to kill you and eat you.
Yeah.
So-
Another thing that did annoy about this is it's a very sort of like open aspect game. You're out in the, it's just you're just a human. You've got no abilities, no real technological advancement, but the UI on the screen feels so over the top.
Oh, right, yes.
Like you have a mini map, you have a little sound, you have a little speaker in the bottom corner that shows you how much noise you're making. You've got this massive like for your ammo and things in the bottom corner. Your health bar gives you like a percentage. You've got all these unnecessary numbers that removes it from being
survival-esque.
Yeah, it's very like, I feel like I'm playing like a Call of Duty game with all these stats and things that you're keeping an eye on.
That's a very fair point, actually.
It just takes you away from being more involved with the game.
Yeah. And
if they just kept it so like you just had a small icon of the gun and a number of how many bullets you had loaded and what you had spare that just popped up when you were like aiming down the sight or something like that.
And then when you switched weapon, it would then bring up that weapon's ammo.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted a map, you had to bring the map up. Like, don't get me wrong, that like it would be good to get a mini map, or maybe that's something that you could get as like an upgrade later on and whatnot. But
not a constant thing. Like you're going in, you can see the layout of all these buildings, but as a human, we don't just walk up to a building and know exactly what.
Yeah, it takes away. Yeah, like you're saying, it takes away that ideal that the game is more about you being a survivor, and you end up being sort of like, oh no, I've got all of this knowledge and everything. And don't get me wrong, obviously they've got to try and make it as as much of a game as possible, because obviously otherwise it stops becoming more engrossed. But maybe that's where they went wrong, is they should have focused a little bit more on this survivability. Made the enemies weaker. The enemies they just seem stupidly strong in it as well.
A lot of them are. You do have to make a decision on whether it is. The game does say sometimes it is better to run away, which is fair enough. But sometimes, if it's a clear out mission, you can't just
and then
run
you
away.
end up. And so, like we're watching, one of the missions is to clear out hives. You throw a Molotov cocktail into a hive to set it on fire, and then
all come running
4
out.
zombies. Zombies. We're calling them zombies.
Yeah.
They come crawling out, and you have to fight all 4 of them. So 6 times 4 is 24. Quick maths. And then each one takes probably the best part of about 4 or 5 bullets or 4 hits to a baseball bat, and every time you kill a zombie, it's over 10% of your baseball bat that you have to kill.
Yeah.
So you have to find another baseball bat, and it's like, obviously the idea is obviously survivability, but don't take away from the gameplay to add to the etiquette of survivability. Like a massive shotgun blast to the head, I don't care what your flesh is made out of, that should kill you
just
instantly.
flesh. That's exactly it.
Yeah, which is a bit frustrating. But I mean, there's nothing else really too much to say on that. It's worth your time if you love your zombies and you love it, and you love this style of game where you're surviving and whatnot. Then you could probably make it a lot more enjoyable than we did. But when it focuses so much on all of these upgrades and all of the monsters and creatures, and everything just doesn't seem to fall into place quite as well as you'd want to, and you end up repeating yourself and doing the same sort of quest 8 times over in the first 10 hours of the game, you start to very early on.
Another thing, you can highlight enemies and track them on your map. It's like, how? You're just a human. Again, you're just a human. And you can mark them so you can see them on your map constantly. It's like, as soon as they walk behind a building, you don't know what the hell they're doing. But you know exactly at what point they're going to come around the next corner again. And it's just like, no.
Yeah, so one of the things I was hoping for this to be was more like The Last of Us.
I want The Last of Us with open scenery, yeah.
Yeah, but
that would have been.
But that's, I guess this is the sort of feedback that the company gave, and they've obviously got the new survival mode coming out in June. So maybe that some of these issues will be addressed. But I think a lot of people are not disappointed as much, but it is the worst PlayStation exclusive that's come out in recent years.
By no means bad, but by no means great.
No. Another game that did come out is Mortal Kombat 11.
Yay!
Yeah. We're not big fans of it. We don't play it. We can appreciate that, obviously. A lot of people do like it, though.
Oh, I appreciate a good side scroller beat 'em up. They're not my favourite game, and I won't play them constantly. But on a like, if you have
If you got a couple of you got a couple of mates around, and you just want to cleave your mate's head
there's
off.
nothing better than bashing
in the game.
I don't know.
Yeah. And that this game's obviously it's had sort of semi-okay reviews. I think like most of the major reviewers, like IGN or anything like that, they've given it relatively good reviews. It's sort of getting 8s and 9s or 4s out of 5s. Again, it's doing quite well. And we've been reading up on like some of the people's positives and negatives with the game. Positive wise is the game works like it should.
That's what you can expect from a game, really.
Yeah, that's a bit of a.
It's not a broken mess on release.
Yeah, it's obviously it's got like when I say like it works how it should be. Obviously, it's like the combat and the way that the fights fan out. Like people are not certain characters are not overpowered. You get the right amount of like damage done per hit, and make sure that like it's all like balanced well. The characters are in depth enough. I've heard the story is alright. I mean, I don't think that they sort of expect like masterwork from them, because they're mainly there to beat each other up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite good. The fatalities and brutalities are quite good.
They seem to have gone up another level from what I saw in 10. So.
Yeah, like they just get to a point where it's a little bit sickening. Somebody had to design that as well. That's what I always find weird. Is it's somebody's job to what we want to do is we want to make sure he tears his leg off and beats him to death.
It's like
and it's like yes, that's a great job. Give him a raise.
His last year's really sick and twisted things. Now just do it again, but like times it by 10, and then just cover it in blood.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't know if it is in this, but I haven't seen any footage of it. But like in the old Mortal Kombats, and I mean like some of the first ones, you could like turn into like animals and like eat the opponent and whatnot. It was obviously it was like really, it was old pixel art, or not pixel art. It was just old like Photoshop graphics, it was impressive for that time, but like, and it'd be quite cool to see now if you like one of the guys turns into like a massive tarantula and just eats someone's head and spits it back out.
That'd be
and then
too,
just
that'd
like
be too
walks off and
tame.
is like, fuck it.
That'd be way too tame these days.
Yeah,
we see people's spines being ripped out their arse and then shoved down their throat again.
Yeah, one of the characters in this game as well. I don't know the characters too much. I think he's called like Noobsayer or something like that. Do not quote me on that. I have no idea what the characters are called.
Noobsayer.
But this guy, one of his like obviously every time they go into battle, they insult each other or like oh, you won't win this fight. They're like taunt them essentially. This guy goes into battle and he says you will not be missed by your parents, and the girl's like, oh, I'm an orphan. He's like, ha, I'm proven right. It's like a proper sick burn. They've gone with like, they keep the aesthetic of this game looking like phenomenally well. And
you mean you can't have a game that savage in combat and then they're like, you're dumb as an insult? No.
It's like he's got some proper kick-ass insults. It's like brilliant, and like that alone would probably be worth it. So if you like the combat and whatnot, that's all positive. If you like that and you like the story, that's perfect. There was, however, some bad points.
Every review I've read so far has been, this is good, but this is bad.
Yeah, so like
everyone's got they're so torn between.
Yeah, so the online features, which a lot of features for the game, which is like the Tower of Time, they all require like constant online, which people don't like already, because obviously again a lot of people don't have access to the internet. Obviously every day there is more and more people being connected, but there are still quite a few people that don't have access to the internet, that's already a pain in the bum for one. And what people were finding is when you are playing these game modes is that currency in the game, there's 4 different kinds of currency, which is just a ridiculous amount.
How many of them are purchasable, I wonder?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, is all of the currency is related to getting skins or getting armor pieces and whatnot. And of course, this all once again links back to your good old friend, your bestie, microtransaction.
As we discussed last
Yeah, so obviously last time we were talking like it was estimated that it's around about $6,440 if you wanted to buy your way to everything. Obviously some people won't do that. It's probably the more appropriate way to put it. Most people won't do that, which is obviously that's fine. But when people are paying like £50 for a brand new game and then they're immediately being told, oh yeah, you should be buying into microtransactions and whatnot, that's already a bit of a no-no. But essentially what this game is doing is it's not rewarding, or it wasn't anyway, rewarding the players very much with these items that unlocked character skins and armor and whatnot. And again, this comes into sort of like loot boxes and whatnot. So there's so many chests and everything that you have to unlock to get certain resources to unlock other chests. This is where it starts to like get really convoluted and whatnot. And again, this is all of these chests are random reward generated, so you can't just go, okay, if I get this chest it'll help me get towards this chest, and you can't work towards anything like that, which I'm sure everyone's used to loot boxes pretty much by now. That is essentially what a loot box is. So you could end up spending all of this time working towards something. You don't even get the skin that you want, or you don't get the reward that you want, and you don't get the armor piece that you want, and it's just ridiculous. And like some of the things that you have to get is like one of the currencies is you have to do brutalities and fatalities in matches, which I don't even know why that's even there. Surely just winning the match should be what it is. A brutality and a fatality is a way of saying, oh, not only did I beat you, but I cut your body in half. Like, you don't need to stop implementing these, especially because like I don't know how hard the fatalities are to do anymore. I remember when I was younger, I couldn't do any of them because, like, when you have to press more than 2 buttons, that's it. My brain fizzles and turns into goo.
And then you got to deal with the other characters trying to kick the shit out of you as well. So
yeah, well, it's just that it was just like absolutely ridiculous, and people were saying that there's just so much of a grind just to get just like some of the smaller down rewards. Like, it's just going to take, they were saying it's just ridiculous hours, and Steam has been bombed basically with its reviews, where like most people are just saying don't get it.
They had to to adjust the rates, didn't they?
It wouldn't surprise me, because so many people are just upset about it. However, they have addressed this partially. So what they have done is they did release a patch this week, which apparently adjusts a little bit to give people more rewards. And I think as an apology, they've issued to PlayStation already is a sort of like a rewards box where they get 1,000 hearts and 1,000 stones, as sort of like, I would say, compensation to get people going a little bit more. And they've said that the rewards are now going to be essentially like doubled, to obviously to encourage, which is because obviously so many people are complaining about them, and this is why it's good to leave reviews and write reviews, because if you don't, then developers will never know this sort of thing.
So you just need to find that balance between reward and time spent to get that reward. Hopefully they found it now.
So yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then like the Tower of Time, which we spoke about a minute ago, that was, people were complaining about that being too hard. It was just ridiculous, and that's been addressed as well, where they've brought the difficulty down a little bit. The health of the enemies have been reduced, and they've patched bugs which would crash the game, which is just annoying. And this is where, like, we won't go too much into it, but the problem that this stems from is the fact that so many games nowadays are just trying to get out their games before they're properly finished, which is just unbelievably frustrating.
It just, I don't know why. No, I can't think of. There's so few industries that I think would actually could get away with that. Like, you don't see like people in the music industry, the song's not quite finished yet, but I'll just release it anyway, and then like a month later I'll release the full version.
Yeah.
And people are like, I haven't read the last chapter of this book, but I'll release it out anyway. Then when everyone's read it, then I'll publish the second chapter like in a month's time.
Yeah.
Like, in no other industry would you accept like a half or a broken thing.
Yeah.
But games companies, they can just do it now.
They're doing it more and more recently as well, which is what's getting frustrating.
Every game gets like an alpha, a beta, an open, closed demo, and all this shit, and they still can't get it right on release.
Yeah. And I think it's more embarrassing than anything, because it's just sort of if you just type into Google Mortal Kombat 11, one of the first things that came up for me was like Steam reviews. And the moment you go there, you can see people that are upset with this. And to be fair, you could have already lost a load of your player base just because of this. And you're dealing with like a very requested IP here. Like loads of people know Mortal Kombat, loads of people want to play it, and you've got so much of a fan base. Why would you even risk upsetting them?
Yeah.
Because the moment that you do, they'll hold it against you.
They will not go back once burned. That is it.
Yeah, the people whilst are stupid, are not that stupid.
No, I have done the same with Assassin's Creed. I have been hurt and burned by them so many times. I am done with that.
Yeah, and that's the reason that I don't buy into like Call of Duties anymore too much. Like I've played the latest one, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but I didn't play World War 2. I didn't play Infinite Warfare. I think it was called
Infinity War.
No,
That's another dialogue.
Yeah. Well, like the past like 4 Call of Duty games, I didn't bother buying into because they were just changing it up and making it so weird and strange. I was just sort of like, oh, I just can't be dealing with it, sort of thing. And I still get it now with like so many games where I'm just sort of like if I don't think that game will highly appeal to me, I don't think it's worth the risk anymore, because so many games are broken on release that I feel so worried about. Like Sekiro is the first game I've pre-ordered in probably about a year and a half, because I know From Software make good games and I'm willing to trust them.
Yeah.
They haven't riddled that game with microtransactions. They haven't released any patches for any major bugs or anything like that.
No.
The game is so hard anyway. You want to be able to exploit patches, if anything, really. You want to take advantage as much as possible.
Is there a cheese for this boss? No, bugger it.
They actually keep on top of it a little bit. And that's why From Software's got such a great reputation. And that's why something like this is just... Obviously, it's made via Warner Brothers and whatnot, and they've got so much money. Like, you shouldn't be... Stop focusing so much on this money. It's like Witcher 3 cost, I think it was like 86 million to make, and then its revenue for CG Projekt Red was like 250 million is what they got back, because people loved it, sort of thing. So then, and they've then got like, then everybody looks at CG Projekt Red and go, shit, they're good. We like this company. They make amazing games. Whereas now what we're looking at Warner Brothers and I forgot what the creators are called for this game. That's really embarrassing, that is. And we're looking at them and just going sort of like, well, I have no faith in you at all. I mean, like in Mortal Kombat 10, they even like introduced microtransactions for fatalities. And again, this
you could buy certain button combinations, couldn't you, or something like that, wasn't it?
It wouldn't surprise me. And it's just sort of like you're taking out of the game just because you want that extra money. It's like if you've got a strong game and a large enough player base, you could spend 150 million, you could spend 230 million, and you'd still make a profit.
Exactly.
If you sell as much as The Witcher 3 does.
Stop like giving people the access to buy to the end game.
Yeah. And start focusing more on making your game better before releasing it.
Enjoy playing it throughout, like you're supposed to with games.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, you would never expect anything like this to happen, been 20 years ago when PS1 games didn't have access to the internet and they couldn't be updated. They had to make sure these games worked before they got them out.
Exactly. And they did it fine. I can't think of any games that had any issues.
Yeah. And it's one of those weird ones. I know they say that obviously like games cost a lot more to make now, obviously graphic wise, and everything's got to look more prettier and whatnot.
Not necessarily.
But this is what it comes down to. Is it not necessarily? It doesn't have to be super expensive. A lot of games don't go for that super high end look, and because of that, they end up profiting more and doing well, and then the companies will end up spending more time focusing on actually making the game decent rather than finding ways to suck the wallet through the TV. But on that note, on a more positive note as well, seeing as we're not a big fan of Mortal Kombat's microtransactions.
or anyone's.
But again, microtransactions is involved. Borderlands 3. They've shown a little bit more footage.
They've shown 2 characters so far, what we've seen today.
Yeah, so what we saw was a little bit of Siren.
Amara.
Yeah, and then the other guy is called Zane, and he is in a land called Promethea. And then the bit with Siren was at the very beginning of the game, so just after like the logo, the intro to the game, sort of thing. And you asked for it, and he's back, Claptrap.
Oh,
Love him, he's my favourite.
he is like the mascot of that game, and if he was ever not in it,
Yeah.
then it would just be a flop.
Yeah, with the way that their humour goes, you would half expect
He
them to
is
sort of
their
like
humour.
He is their humour, but you'd half expect them to just not announce him at all. Everyone get like really nervous, and then the moment you start up the game, he's the first thing you'd see. That's their style of humour.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people actually hate him for some reason. I don't know why.
They're intimidated by his humour.
They're intimidated by his beauty. So what they've shown so far looks really good. We'll leave a link in the description below so you can follow to watch this footage yourself. But it looks, for me anyway, it looks everything that Borderlands 2 or even Borderlands 1 was, except from refined, polished, improved graphics, smoother, smarter. It just looks, so far, better.
Definitely. They've definitely focused more on the combat of the guns. They've really sort of gone into that aspect with... It's the first two very much the case of you can just run and just shoot the shit out of everything and just pop an ability here and there.
Yeah.
Certainly with the Zane character we saw, it looks a little bit more like you might have to...
Tactical.
Exactly. You've got a pop-up shield, which is a little bit cliche, but...
I don't mind the clichéness as long as they execute it well.
Yeah, so he has to maybe sort of take a moment, hang back, shoot through the shield,
Yeah.
send in his little robot drone thing to take out somebody, then he goes in himself with his abilities. So they've not made it so you just running and gunning, which I think is going to make it a little bit more interesting. That might just be his character, and other ones have a different ability that is a completely different play styles to be expected.
I mean, they could have like the Berserk where you just run in and just
well, in the
punch
first one, the
everything.
Berserk he was just running, just punching his fists constantly
Yeah.
until his ability ran out. So
Yeah, so that's looking great, and they've just added little tidbits and whatnot. So it's sort of like you can customize your character a little bit more now. Like emotes, this is where obviously microtransactions will come into it. And then obviously you can get things like different skins and outfits and just all that usual crap that you can upgrade and change, which
yep.
It's a first person shooter, so you won't see your own outfit most of the time, but other people will when you're playing online with you, which is fine. I don't mind the microtransactions so much if they don't affect gameplay.
Aesthetical things and changes and emotes. Yeah, I can get a bit more because it is you're just buying something because you want it.
They did say obviously that it won't be pay to win. However, we realised that on one of the pre-orders you get a 10% XP gain.
Yeah,
So-
that'll be interesting to see if that's a permanent thing or if it's like a.
It doesn't matter whether it's permanent or not. That's still bullshit.
If you say it's an item, you can get half an hour of 10% extra XP. It's not
That's still a pay to win system though.
You get a little bit more experience for half an hour. It's not gonna.
So like at level, like you could like be playing with your mates for the first half an hour. You'll be at level 8. They'll be at level 5. Who's gonna win? Exactly. It's
I
just
don't think it's made
stupid.
that much difference.
Yeah, you know what I
At
mean.
the beginning,
though.
if it works on that basis, it's not gonna make nowhere near as much difference.
Then why did they bother putting it in there and selling it as an extra then?
Because people want that.
Yeah, well-
they want all these little boosts that think it's going to get them ahead of
Yeah.
everyone. But a dedicated player who does not have that, maybe even will get more gameplay time out of it in that time that other people have.
Yeah. So that's realistically though, they've kept the humor, they've kept the look, they've kept the style, they've kept the massive super guns, the epicness. They've not made it like super detailed where it doesn't need to be. They've not made like the voice acting and like the animations in the game. They're not over the top, which is again fine. Like I'm okay with that. Like it doesn't need to be super all singing and dancing and fancy. I have to see every single bead of sweat pouring off of some of the guys' faces. I don't need any of that. This is fine. This is perfect. This is what we want to do. And you have got a clamber ability now as well.
Oh,
They've
thank
added that.
the gods.
I mean,
'cause-
as long as it works, like games put clamber abilities into these. We had it in like Call of Duty before, where we got stuck on a rock and we were trying to get out of the rock, and you couldn't. The rock was like at waist height, but because you're not supposed to be able to clamber on it, or you shouldn't be able to, we couldn't get up it. So then we were stuck on this rock. That's a really like poorly executed story, but like that's just what some games don't implement it well. But this one, obviously, Clamber, hopefully, so far what we've seen looks good.
To me, Clamber is a non-thing. I don't care if I can. I don't care if I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm more immersed in the game if I can clamber up things.
I mean, it helps, I guess, in certain senses.
I'd rather have like a super jump button as opposed to a clamber button.
I'm sure.
Give me a jump that lets me jump over these things.
Yeah,
that'd be far more impressive to me.
The environment's a little bit more interactive. We saw that you can shoot pipes.
Yep.
Like oil spills out of them and sets it on fire. Something small like that. It's not groundbreaking, don't get me wrong, but that's just something that wasn't in it before. So it shows that adding other little things, which they should be, which is great. And personally, as a quick overview, I think this is everything that Rage 2 should be. That it isn't.
Yes, definitely.
That with Rage 2 coming out in literally a week and a half, 2 weeks time. Yeah, 2 weeks time.
Not far off now.
That game's just, when we watch footage and stuff of that, it seemed like it was trying to compete with Boarderlands.
Yeah, missed the mark.
And it's missed the mark. And now that we're seeing more footage of Borderlands, it just
even
confirms
what little
it
we've
even
seen,
more.
like we've seen the abilities of one guy who does seem like almost like the very generic sort of shooter character, almost like the COD man. Yeah,
the COD man,
as they refer to. So even his just look far more interesting, and also you know the Siren's abilities we've seen in the past games have been very good.
Yeah,
and
I've always played as the Siren.
Yeah, I have, and also the hunter, like the tracker person or the ninja.
Yeah,
Even said we've not seen any of those yet, or what their equivalents
but
are.
you feel much more confident with this, don't you?
Definitely.
That's just because I hate Bethesda.
Yeah, I love their games sometimes, and sometimes I just can't stand what they do.
And I think Rage 2 is picked a. I think, don't get me wrong, it's probably best that they're releasing it this side of the year rather than the latter side when Borderlands 3 comes out. That is definitely a wise choice.
They might nick a few fans first, but yeah.
No, they won't nick a few. I think
they'll get their attention first, but they won't hold them until it comes out, until Borderlands 3 is released.
It's going to be interesting to see what they say about Rage 2, because obviously Rage 1 didn't really get too great of reviews. It was just sort of seen there as sort of like, oh yes, an alright game, which is fine. There was nothing phenomenally good about it, but Rage 2 is looking like that again for me. And
yeah, is there much point making a second game if you're not improving it off the first?
Yeah, but that's why people are so shocked that they announced it, because they're like saying, oh yeah, there's Rage 2 coming out, and everyone's just sort of like, none of us asked for this. We never asked for this. How on earth have we ended up with it? But like when some of the footage that they did show of Rage, it looked quite fun. But then when you watch the actual gameplay footage, and you're like, oh, so this is how it all works. This is like some really good editing skills.
It's good on paper. What sort of a game, isn't it?
Yeah, and the editing skills can make a game look amazing. When
a good
really
trailer things like that can do wonders, but doesn't actually improve your movie though, does it, or your game? No. So Borderlands 3 still looking really good. One good game's got to come out this year.
Sekiro.
True. Two good games got to come out this year.
Yeah, there we go. So and hopefully it will keep up to the level of expectation that it should receive. Something else that was announced this week, or shown, I'm going to call it, and it is game related. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, if you listen to this, you might have already seen the trailer. If not, we'll leave a link. I'm not sure you'd really want to. It's the
film itself looks quite interesting. Like, just ignoring Sonic, if you look at everything else, there's a little bit of interest for me in there.
Yeah.
And I'm normally a massive fan of proportionate things, but this is not one of those times.
Yeah,
that character was based on its unproportionate feet, hands, legs, head, spikes, everything.
Yeah, so Sonic in this film, in the trailer anyway, does not look normal.
He looks normal. That's the problem.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't look. That does not look normal. If that was a child, I'd have it put down.
Well, it's not a child, is it?
Well, it makes it easier to do it then.
It looks too normal and realistic. Like, its hands proportionate to the rest of its body. Its legs.
It's got normal teeth.
Exactly. Its face is all squished together.
Yeah, so the trailer basically
It looks hairy instead of spiky.
So the trailer for this film essentially is just showing off this new Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
And since when did his rings teleport people? Let's just discuss that.
That's not where obviously the film is based on an adaptation of the game, where he's got to go fast.
Why is he covered in lightning?
And he's super quick, and he makes friends with a human. This is obviously a competitor to Detective Pikachu, or got the idea from it, or however you want to put it. I don't know where they've come up with this idea, but Sonic has never, game-wise recently, Sonic hasn't done too well. They can't seem to get the knack quite
Even
right.
the fairies don't like it.
Yeah, and now you've got this. You've got a film adaptation which is starting off so poorly, where like everything looks fine, like apart from Sonic, and he's the main person.
And we've seen so many people like, oh, here's my take on what the character should look like, and it's 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Just these normal people who have a basic understanding of how to edit things, and they're creating something so much better.
Yeah, it's so weird that they've.
It looks like Sonic, just with a realistic texture. That's all they had to do.
Seems like an out-of-season April Fool's joke.
Oh.
It's not going down well.
We all
People
saw
are
the
unhappy.
poster, and we saw his body shape. He's all blacked out. It was like, oh god.
Yeah,
like I can't see the hands with no gloves. I can't see any massive feet. So we were already like, oh jeez. And then they go and release it, and it's. What is it? It looks like that Sonic Unleashed game where he went all like werewolf. It looks like he sort of kept a little bit of that. Where he's all like furry on the back.
He hasn't got big eyes. He's got like he's got like normal.
He has a normal hedgehog's face.
It's just you can't. There's nothing really positive that we can say about this. Like the rest
He's
of it,
still blue and has red shoes, which are the wrong size. But
yeah, because of Nike's advertisement. But like the story in this trailer, they do explain a little bit of the story. Obviously, Dr. Robotnik's there, which is played by Jim Carrey, which is quite cool.
He could be
I love. He's great in whatever he plays. I do like that man. So that's fine. But then. Sonic will.
I might actually root for the villain.
He will ruin this he's ruining this on a visual standpoint. When like this should be what is bringing me in. Sonic is the main character.
Like, who approved this?
You are selling a movie based off of a video game character. The one thing that you don't want to mess up is that video game character.
What Womble went into the exec room like, here's our design for the new Sonic, and then what bigger Womble went, yeah, I love it. No,
it is such a broken. We won't dwell on it too much. There's not really too much else to say about this, because unfortunately it's like. Again, this is like the rival to Detective Pikachu. Like Pikachu, like don't get me wrong, I've always thought that like trying to make Pokemon realistic was gonna be a struggle. Like when you see Snorlax in the Detective Pikachu trailer, you do look at it, you're like, that's a bit weird.
I don't think
Lickitung, a little bit weird looking. Mr. Mime, a little bit creepy and whatnot. However, now that you see something like this, you're just sort of like, oh, that's the other end. That's where they could have gone.
This is like budget.
This is not going well. So what I'm going to take from it is appreciate Detective Pikachu for what they've done, because it could look a whole lot worse.
I think they did quite well.
And yeah, they could make it so much worse.
They took the Pokemon and just added a realistic sort of like texture to them. They gave them hair where needed. They maybe sort of proportioned them a little bit to make them like physically capable to stand up in some proportions. But they didn't change how they look. They didn't change anything about their bodies. Pikachu still got a jagged tail. Snorlax is still fat. Machamp still got 4 arms.
Yeah.
Although
Ludicolo now has fur, which I wouldn't expect Ludicolo to have, like,
what would he have? Bark?
Well, that's my point, is they need to make these adaptations their own way.
But we've not been told anything.
Exactly, but that's fine. Like, if it's out of place and it seems out of place, it's weird to get on board with. and it's hard enough as it is to distinguish from going from a 2D pixel or 3D game where everything is all smooth and rounded in a bright and colourful world, and bringing that into a grungy, realistic setting. If you're gonna do that, you've got to be really careful, because it's gonna be so hard to bring people into it. Detective Pikachu's doing okay at that. There is still some elements there where it's still a little bit... You look at some of the characters and some of the Pokemon, you're like, I'm not quite sure about that. What you don't do, though, is you don't bring Sonic the Hedgehog and make it look like a deformed creature, abomination, alien... anything. I genuinely don't know what to say here. It's like something's been dipped in toxic lava or something.
It's like melted with a blow dryer.
And it's just... not normal, not natural. And we've already got this struggle of comparing it to a real life object already. You've just gone and done that. I'm not happy.
I thought they tried to make him cute, but
there is no element of
they
that.
tried to.
Who would have sat there and said, yes, that's cute?
I don't know. Who produced this film?
Well, it's just so stupid.
Have they ever seen Sonic before? That's the question.
Someone is going to get fired for that.
Someone should already be fired, but they've already released a trailer, so it's done now.
I wouldn't have released a trailer. If I'd put 10, 15 million into just that trailer, I would just be like, this is... No, you'd pull the plug. You'd be like, unfortunately, you just have to let it die. And Sonic is getting nothing but hate in recent years. There's a couple of interesting games every so often that are alright, and you get to play some of the originals. Like, the original Sonic games are obviously great fun, but this is just not good. No.
I can't imagine a game of this film either.
Right. We'll move on from that to a more...
Fix him!
Fix it. We'll move on to a more positive subject of Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo. Woo!
I love that game.
Yeah, everybody loves that game. This game has now actually sold, in the first 4 months, 13.8 million units. Probably going up every single day. Mm-hmm. Be impressive if it was going down.
Impressed.
I would be impressed. But 13.8 million units is quite a substantial number, because believe it or not, that is the amount of Wii U consoles that was actually sold. So everybody knows that the Wii U didn't do particularly well. If you don't know, the Wii U is the most poorest marketing campaign I've ever seen, and has been executed so poorly. We were complaining about blooming Sonic. Nintendo didn't do very well with their Wii U. That was a colossal mess.
For Nintendo, it's out the blue, isn't it?
Exactly. So selling more game copies of just Smash Bros. Ultimate than consoles of the Wii U is that's got to be a lovely milestone to see.
There's a bit of a sting though on them, like, oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a bit of a reminder of how bad obviously the Wii U was, but that's something that they're growing from, and they're doing better, and the Switch is doing really well.
They've already made their improvements.
Yeah, it's a massive step forward from their last console, the Switch is, which is absolutely great, and all of the games and the sales are just supporting that, which is absolutely perfect. And it basically just means that, like, because they're porting over all of these games from the Wii U, like Smash Bros.
And Sonic was normal in this one.
Yeah, Sonic looks normal in it as well. And Bayonetta 2 came over as well. It's basically making all of these games that were exclusive to the Wii U, and don't get me wrong, there wasn't a colossal amount of them, but it's now making them way more accessible, and way more people can play them, which is absolutely perfect. It's what we need. We don't need these... Like, don't get me wrong, Smash Bros. Ultimate is amazing. Because they brought in every single character, that is a major upgrade from Super Smash Bros. Wii U, which is amazing, but there's it just opens up so many more doors as well, and it's, yeah, there's nothing really much more to say on that. They're just making more and more right steps, and obviously it's paying off.
It speaks for itself just from what's been sold in 4 months.
Yeah. But last of all, just on the Nintendo note, there is I want to say a rumour, but Nintendo have apparently come out and said that the Switch Mini, we're going to call it, the reduced power Switch, the low-end cost Switch, the Switch that is more affordable, will not...
Kid Switch.
The Kid Switch will not be announced at E3 this year.
I don't think it's required to be announced.
Well, they do their own directs, so they could
Yeah.
they could announce it then. I mean, they could be just throwing people completely off here. They could be like E3 ends 2 days later. They then go, oh, by the way, middle of July we're bringing out this. I mean, everyone's expecting there to be a lower down console or a more cheaper version. To be fair, if there wasn't, why didn't Nintendo just straight off just say no? There's no such plan for that. But
It's not groundbreaking news. It's the same console, just a bit less. So they're not gonna.
yeah, exactly. It does open up those possibilities. If it was the high tech version, they might be more prone to announce that at E3 because then they're saying, look at what you can now do, rather than it's a little bit of a
Now what you can't do.
yeah, just what we do a massive presentation on this console, which you can no longer do all of these fun things with.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So
Here's your baby machine.
yeah, which is still. Nintendo are pretty good with their directs and pretty good with the communicating to their fans, so it's nothing to really worry about. I would say it's just one of those things we just
They're
have
not
to
wasting
wait.
our time with stuff we already know about, or focus on hopefully the big things that we want to know about.
Metro Prime 4.
Exactly.
That's all I care about at the moment from them.
Exactly.
I mean, Bayonetta 3 would be nice.
Oh, if I get another spot on or a hint or something of Bayonetta 3, I'll be very happy, man.
You just her haircut or her boot.
Her boot. Just one boot.
Just one boot.
As long as there's still guns on her boots.
I didn't
don't
say
care.
she was wearing them. Just one boot.
That'll be fine for me. I just need something. All we've had
Yeah.
so far is a little broken icon. That's all I need. Something else.
An unbroken icon?
No, because that would be the story wreck then, I expect.
It's not the point, is it? Really?
Yeah.
Right. Other than that, though, that's been most of the news this week.
Sonic's broken.
Sonic's not very good. Sonic the trailer. You might want to.
I'll still see the film, but
What? No, you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
well,
You're
I'm
going to give money to that.
no, I'm gonna go see it.
I am more than happy to not go and see it.
I'll go take on a Meerkat movie, and I'll
There
pay
it-
for my ticket. You've got the free one.
Oh, fine. Did you see that? Like in the trailer, there's a bit where like these rockets get launched at him, and basically he then like flicks off all of the missiles and turns them all on each other and whatnot. Because trailers like to explain the full film now. There's a bit in it where Sonic gets shot with a dart gun.
Yeah,
But he can't stop that. Well, that's
I
just
was aware that
stupid.
like in that aspect, Sonic looks like he has like, control over time. Like, I appreciate he could run fast, but could he literally do everything that fast that everything seems slow to him?
Well, you'd have to have reactions of a blimmin'.
I thought his legs just moved fast. I didn't realise his whole like.
Well, no, because he can spin as well. So he's obviously got more than just running powers.
Yeah, but it's like to that. Can you go that fast that you can like literally?
He's
look like
running
slow
so
into-
fast, he's turned into a ball.
I said I've never played a Sonic game where like everything's coming at you really slowly because you're going so fast. Well, the fast things are looking really slow because
He's
you're
like
going
he's
so
like
fast.
Quicksilver from X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that one from Marvel?
What woman from Marvel?
The one that got shot. The one that died. No, not woman. What's that one? From Age of Ultron?
Quicksilver again.
Are they all called Quicksilver?
Yeah.
Why are they all called Quicksilver?
Because they were silver and they were really quick.
Yeah, well, he wasn't quick enough to dodge those
I would
bullets,
much
was he?
rather seen a Shadow movie than Sonic.
Well, just a shadow on the floor.
Shadow the Hedgehog, you blithering idiot. Shadow the Hedgehog.
Right, okay, that's fine. We'll leave it at that.
With guns.
With guns.
He has guns in the game.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just don't. We won't even go there. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a lovely day, week, hour. Just don't watch. Well, no, go and watch the trailer.
watch
It'll give you something to laugh about. on
Post
the
your
weekend.
reactions in the comments because we want to know.
Yeah.
Are we wrong?
Thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.